as a surgeon, I'm biased. It's always good to have a surgeon as a CMO in the hospital who understands what we need and we work with us. I appreciate you giving us ground on today about an introduction to powerful leadership. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Al-Rifai. Thank you, Dr. Al-Rifai. I really appreciate this opportunity. I was here before. With this being said, this is a little bit different of a presentation. Has nothing to do with medicine, and not even it's remotely related to medicine, and it's really an introduction to the basics of powerful leadership. And as you will see, we'll talk a lot about history. We talk about the transition of different leadership styles over the century. And then I'll leave it up to you to decide what leader you want to be. And it is an introduction because, there are many more leadership styles out there now that I discuss with you today. But I think probably these two, we're talking about two main leadership styles that evolved through history, are probably the most important to know of. So with this being said, we'll go to this slide. So this is JFK, and this was his introduction in Berlin when he visited Berlin for his first time. This was the time of the Cold War. There was a lot diversity there. The Iron Curtain went through Berlin and through Germany, and everybody was in great fear on the Eastern European side and the Western European side, and it was a big, very important deal for our country, and he knew that, and he needed Germany really as the biggest country in Europe as a strong ally. So he started to connect. That was his most important first approach with the Berlin people and the population there. So this is a very famous speech. If you want to listen to the speech on YouTube, please do, because it's a very important speech regarding also John F. Kennedy as a true historic leader of the 20th century. This is one of our other great leaders, right, in history, and it's Martin Luther King. And this was at a different time, earlier, a little bit earlier, around JFK's time, actually. And it was a time where the country was divided, and there was a lot of fear across the country in the African American population, and there was discrimination. There was still the history of slavery, and this speech that you all know started with giving a vision. Giving a dream that everybody dreamt of at the time, but never was realized before, and he started with that famous speech. That was his introduction. It was also a connection to his people and to the people of America. It was a connection, and he started with a big vision. So they both had shared leadership qualities. It was a powerful and clear vision. They had, of course, exceptional oratory skills that motivated the people and united them. And they had a strong sense of accountability, which means they were steadfast in their dedication in the face of resistance of different kinds of resistance. And they had different challenges, very strong different challenges at the time. But they were steadfast to give their vision and to make sure that everybody is safe and everybody will move forward as a country. There are other powerful leaders, right? And you see there's some transition over time when it comes to leadership styles. So there was Abe Lincoln, mid-19th century. He defined a moral vision for a united nation without slavery. He demonstrated remarkable self-control and empathy under a deep conflict the nation was in there. And he also issued the Emancipation Proclamation and guided the Union through the Civil War through all of this. Another very different leader was Mahatma Gandhi. He was also he was in the early 20th century. He embraced simplicity. He developed the nonviolent resistance, satyagraha, as powerful political strategy. And he inspired millions through his morality, moral leadership, and he ultimately led India to independence from British colonization. And then we have Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was, again, different, late 20th century. And he was, he led South Africa, to a post-apartheid political system, to a democratic system. And he devoted decades to his cause, promoting reconciliation. And he showed reconciliation resilience, being a prisoner for 2 decades. He played a pivotal role in dismantling the apartheid. So very important leaders at their time, but very different leadership styles and very different approaches, how they led their countries during these difficult times. So what is powerful leadership? Well, effective leadership goes beyond simply holding authority or exercising control. It centers on inspiring others, and it influences and it drives meaningful positive transformation. Did you know that 57,000 books are published in the United States with the word leadership in their title today? I Googled it. 57,000. So it is impossible to read all these books, right? And I read a good number of them, but not 50,000. And that's why I thought in this introduction, I focus probably on 2 that create a real good foundation, what leadership meant in the past, what it should mean in the future, and we can build a fundament, and we can create a good understanding what leaders we want to be, or you want to be. So these are the 2 styles: charismatic leadership and transformational leadership. Very different, though. And we go through each of them. So this is let's give us 2 to 5 minutes. I give you 2 minutes to define principles of charisma and what you think what charisma means to you. And then after 2 minutes, we discuss it for 3 minutes. And it starts now. So talk to each other. It's interactive. And jot it down if you want, or keep it in your, in your head what you think, and then we'll talk. And I want some hands raised to give me an answer about that. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, it seems that you came to a conclusion because it's getting quiet. That's good. It was a great conversation. I heard it. Great discussion. Yeah, everybody was interactive. That's how we want to be, right? We want to be interactive. So let's start here, this side. The crowd is here. What do you think? Give me five different principles of charisma. What do you think what charisma means? Anybody can raise their hand. Dr. Philippa.
I think that charisma is usually somebody that has tremendous confidence. No doubt in their mind about what their vision and their discipline is.
Good. Confidence, very, very important principle. Very good. Great. Thank you, Dr. Philippa. Who else? Come on. Dr. Cassie.
Right next door. About skill of developing relationships and connections with other people.
Good. Great. Yes, please.
We said they have like an infectious energy, that people are attracted to them and want to, go along with their vision.
Yeah. One more here.
Good at communicating their vision.
Yeah, that's great. Communication of the vision. Yeah, the visionary. What's about here? Charisma. What does it mean to you?
Magnetic charm, influential.
Oh, good. Influence and charm. Great. Like charm. That's great. Who else? One more.
They're really likable. They're just somebody that you can just say like, oh yeah, I can like that person.
Yeah. Likable.
Mhm.
The person needs to be, the leader needs to be likable. Dr. Thaler.
I think I agree with everything said. I think listening to Adam Grant, he gives a different perspective where it has a sugar high effect, and sometimes it can be overrated, where character over charisma. Charisma can promote narcissism as well, but that's the other side of that. So
that is a very important comment because, and we'll get back to that. Yeah, that's really important, very important. So can it lead to narcissism? Great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about charismatic leadership. So what is the nature of charismatic leadership? Well, it's a leadership style where the leader uses their personality, their charm, and powerful communication to inspire exceptional loyalty and enthusiasm from followers. Now that's important. Loyalty, enthusiasm, and followers. That's important. So if you look at the characteristics of charismatic leadership, and you mentioned, several of them, almost all of them, self-confidence. Dr. Philippa said that. That's really important. Number one, visionary, exceptional communication. Well, I think every leader needs to be an exceptional communicator, not only the charismatic leader. Sensitivity to followers' needs. And that didn't come up, but that's really important. And you will see why that is so important when we compare charismatic leadership to transformational leadership. And risk-taking. Well, every leader needs to take risks, right? And I think you will see this with other styles too. But charismatic leaders, and you'll see some examples, they took exceptional risk, in times where it was best of a 50-50 chance that they will be successful. Exceptional risks. So let's talk a little bit about the role of followership, right? And the perception. So charisma is a trait, but it is attributed to followers. You need to create your followers. Otherwise, you will not be successful as a charismatic leader. And what does this mean? Perception, to perceive the leader's goals as righteous and very, very, very important. The second one is believe the leader has an extraordinary quality of powers. You need to believe this is a powerful leader. And powerful is very subjective, and it creates different perception, different people. So the leaders, charismatic leaders, need to be very careful to use that characteristic effectively. And then the other one is to feel a strong personal bond and identification with the leader. So you have to have a personal bond to the leader, which you don't see in all other leadership styles, but you need to have this more personal bond with this leadership than with any other leadership. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of charismatic leaders, and you'll see examples. There's the socialized charisma, which is focuses to use power for the benefit of the collective. Can be organization, society, country, population. They want to achieve, to build a shared vision, to empower the followers. Again, followers, you need to have followers, and promote ethical goals, non-exploitable ethical goals. Very important. As an example, it encourages independent critical thinking and development among followers. And one that you can see, or two that you can see here. One was on my title slide, was MLK. But the other one other very important social charismatic leader was Mahatma Gandhi. And then you have the personalized charismatic leader. To use charisma primarily for personal gain, for self-glorification, and to exert and expand yourself, your own power. They want to promote a vision that aligns predominantly with the leader's personal interests. And they have a personal agenda. And how do they influence? Well, they influence that the leader wants obedience and uses followers to validate the leader's sense of greatness, glorification. And it's sort of a yes man culture, like a yes man and a yes women culture. There are several examples, many examples in history, but if you look at war history, these leaders rose during war history as well. One was, I don't know if anybody knows Idi Amin. Does anybody know Idi Amin? Idi Amin was a dictator in Africa, and he was glorified by his troops. And he fell, and that was very important. But it took some time because he was one of these personalized charismatic leaders, and of course the other one in history, which needs to be mentioned because he used he had a very focused use on to use these principles. And then you have divine charisma. These are leaders who believe they're called upon by a higher power or destiny. Yeah, it's the goal is to fulfill the perceived divine or historical mission and to influence on the belief that the leader is uniquely qualified and he or she is a chosen one, the chosen one, right? And you have religious prophets there. You have, as example, you have Muhammad. You have Jesus was a very divine, leader in history, and that's the foundation of this leadership is really a religious foundation, which is very different to righteous. And then you have the crisis-induced charisma. So, and some of the leaders I mentioned as examples before would also fit under this one. But I thought they would fit better under the previous ones, but you could put some of the leaders under the crisis-induced charisma as well. These leaders emerged during times of crisis, of extreme stress, of uncertainty, of fear. And the goal is to provide a clear direction, stability, and an immediate solution. And that immediate solution may be right or wrong, maybe true or not true. But if you can convince your followers that it is true at the time, or they believe that it's true at the time, then it will be very powerful. They influence, to be a strong, decisive figure who promises salvation. Salvation, a solution, and at the time, if you listen to speeches of crisis leaders, you will hear salvation more than solution. Very different to transformational leadership. Examples of wartime leaders or corporate heads. Again, a wartime leader, I mentioned him before, was Abe Lincoln. And, the other one was John F. Kennedy. Well, he was not a wartime leader, but he was a post-war leader. And I don't know if you remember the Cuban crisis. This could have led to World War III, and in the time of the Cold War, and it was a true crisis for the country. And so I put him down there as an example as well. So we are halfway through. Let's go to differences between charismatic and transformational leadership before we go to transformational leadership. So the primary mechanism of charismatic leadership is personality, charm, emotional appeal. The focus is, as a summary, the leader's vision and persona. And the desired outcome is, again, followers. To have devoted followers, and the followers need to identify themselves. Very strong identification with the leader. Different to transformation. So what is the primary mechanism of transformation? A motivation, cognitive engagement, which doesn't mean followership, and personalized attention. Again, personalized, but attention. The focus is to enable and nurture followers. A charismatic leader needs followers for their own glorification, sometimes for their own identification, but a transformational leader nurtures their people and to follow them. So they fulfill their needs. That's an important differentiation. And then the outcome is advancement of followers and to develop the system, organizational development. They're really interested, transformational leaders are really interested to develop something for the good of the country or for the good of their followers. So that's another little exercise. What do you think are the principles an effective transformational leader should have? Another 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll talk about it. So
Dallas. Salt Lake. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Southwest Florida.
Island life too, it's like Vegas. And Austin was on my list. One resident in LA.
Okay. 2 minutes are over. So this was even a better discussion at the tables. That's great. That's great. So let's start here again. What do you think are the principles? What transformational leaders should have? Who's first?
Rather than being like charming, like charismatic leader, we thought these people have to be more compassionate because they have to care about all their, followers and people that are underneath them.
Compassion. Good answer. This side. Yes.
Effective listeners.
Listening. Yes. Yes. At the end of every week, I reflect on my meetings where I listened more than 50%. I get better. One more here. Yes.
You said character and integrity, just following through with what you said you're going to do.
Integrity. Great. Yes, that's a great characteristic. That's good. Let's go over here. So what do you think?
We said transparency and truth.
Transparency and truth. Yes, I agree. 100%. Very important. Transparency. What else?
So this is more about like a shared vision or a shared goal than the individual per se.
A shared vision, because both leadership styles, both leaders have vision, yeah, but a shared vision, very important, which is different to some of the charismatic styles. Some charismatic styles have shared vision too, socialized style, for example, yeah, but a shared vision is very important. Dr. Fitzgibbon.
It seems to me we're talking mainly about effective leaders that are morally good.
Yeah.
What about effective leaders that aren't morally good?
Yeah.
Like Adolf Hitler, you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, what principles do they adhere to?
So we went over that. So they are interested of their own glorification, and they follow their personal agenda, and they need followers to adhere to the leaders, and they don't nurture the followers. They nurture their own needs, his own or her own needs as a leader. They don't have a shared vision. And they think they have compassion, but they don't really have compassion. They use emotional speeches and emotional influence to achieve their own agenda, which in sometimes in history, it was a disaster. And it was very dangerous, and it was very negative. Yeah. Great. It was a good discussion. So let's define transformational leadership. Visionary thinking. I should have added shared visionary thinking, which is important. Integrity. We heard that. authenticity. Yeah, you need to be authentic. Yeah, you need to be authentic leadership, authentic leader. And I'm not focusing on authentic leader in detail here, but there's a lot of books coming out more recently about authentic leadership, and authenticity being a very important feature as part of the transformational leader. We can talk about this later at the next presentation. And then the other one is empowerment. Well, they have this in common with charismatic leaders. And resilience. So you create, in times of crisis, a transformational leader creates the feeling of resilience in his followers, in his teams. And that's different to charismatic leaders. Socialized charisma is very close because that's what Mahatma Gandhi really also did. Yeah, he tried to convey resilience and to get through the time of crisis in India, which was a very hard time for the Indian population. And then impact. Impact is the same. So impact, transformational leader wants to create impact, and charismatic leaders wants to create impact. So there are three core pillars of transformational leadership. One is, those are the three: future casting, value alignment, and clear communication. And there are two new ones, the first two, and the clear communication, be an exceptional leader, is true for both. But future casting, what does it mean? It defines ambitious, achievable long-term goals and provides a direction and instills hope. That's very important. That's very important, because if you don't have future casting, your followers will not believe in your vision. Then the value alignment, to connect daily tasks to the organizations or to the country's mission and values. So be more granular, not have the big glorifying vision here without any mission to get there, without any tasks to complete them. To create transparency. And that fosters a sense of purpose and meaning. You gotta have followers needs to see a purpose in who they follow and what really the pathway is to achieve the goals that nurture the troops. And then clear communication. You articulate your vision in accessible, memorable terms that everybody understands. So quick question. How many times do you think you should repeat your vision as a president, CEO, corporate leader to your staff? How many times?
Hundreds.
Every day, all the time.
Yeah, every day, all the time. So it started, with 13, 14, 15, what we learned in MBA school. But nowadays it's every day. You should go there every day, every week, and continue. And it changes. There are nuances that will change when you deliver your vision and you deliver the tasks that lead to your vision. But that's how you continuously engage your teams. Cultivating emotional intelligence. Now, that you haven't seen in the charismatic leadership style. Emotional intelligence. And of course, that deserves a separate talk or many separate talks about emotional intelligence, what that really is. But it's a self-awareness to understand, the leader needs to understand strengths, weaknesses of herself. Otherwise, you cannot impact others. And that takes time. Empathy, being able to see the world from a team member's perspective. Many charismatic leaders did not have empathy. They conveyed and communicated empathy, but it truly was emotional to have troops follow you. Social skills, managing conflict and inspiring cooperation and building strong relationships. You really need to have social skills here, and you need to do a lot of work with your teams and with your staff to create these social skills. And then motivating. You need to motivate people. So if you're visionary, but you don't know how to motivate your people, you won't get the results you want to achieve. So driving the result through passion and optimism. So optimism is really important. And there are a lot of leaders in history also, but contemporary leaders, they convey optimism. Because in times of crisis, in times of impairments, you need, and it needs to be transparent, it needs to be truth, yeah, that you communicate optimism, but you need to have your people, your staff, your teams believe that we get out of this crisis, or whatever it is. And then driving and sustaining change. Inspiration, I think that came up to motivate people to move beyond their comfort zone. So that's important because that's in its own a skill to do this as a leader, to motivate the people that they move. Accountability, to establish clear roles and tracking progress toward change initiatives. So what does accountability mean? Accountability means if I'm held responsible for a certain task to achieve and I fail, I stand up for it. I need to take risks. So transformation leaders need to take also a lot of risks. And then the other one is adaptability, to adapt. Remaining flexible and, repeating your strategies, and it needs to be a real world feedback that you give to your troops, and that real world feedback needs to be credible. So who are contemporary powerful leaders? So Satya Nadella from Microsoft, CEO there, previous CEO, she was powerful because she had visionary thinking. She created a cultural shift. So she shifted Microsoft's culture from know it all to learn it all. Very different. Learning, ongoing learning. And she refocused the company on cloud computing and productivity, moving away from rivalries. So during her leadership, Microsoft opened up their operational systems, which Apple didn't do. Empowerment, she promoted collaboration, cross-functional partnership, giving product teams greater autonomy. So Microsoft has teams and they have one day of creativity every week where they can actually create their own ideas, new ideas, existing ideas, where they don't need to clock in or out. And impact, she created impact. She really revitalized a stagnant tech giant, Microsoft, and made it where it is today. Jacinda Ardern, she was the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she was exceptional as a leader during COVID there in Australia. She demonstrated profound empathy and compassion in response to a national crisis, a global crisis we were in for several years. And that included not only COVID, it included the Christchurch mosque attacks, and the White Island volcano eruption, and then of course COVID, the pandemic. She demonstrated resilience, and she was a great, exceptional communicator. She provided clear, consistent, concise, and calming communication during the pandemic and uniting the country around public health measures that led the country out of the pandemic. She was very clear and concise, and she repeated it, and she was consistent. Not everybody did this for COVID, leaders. And then impact. She defined a style of kind leadership that prioritized community well-being and emotional connections. And then last but not least, Indra Nooyi. She was the former CEO of Pepsi. And I had the pleasure about 9 years ago to attend one of her presentation speeches. And she did all this. She's setting a compelling vision. She set a compelling vision, introduced performance with purpose, integrating financial success with environmental and social sustainability. For example, reducing sugar in the drinks, very important one. Driving change. She challenged the traditional food and beverage industry model by focusing on healthier products. I'm not saying that Pepsi is super healthy, but you know, they developed a lot of different products over time and healthy drinks as well under her leadership. And she faced internal resistance because that was not the historic expectation that the country and the people had about when they were drinking Pepsi. That's not what their expectation was. So she had to change that, and she did. And an influence. She proved that a large corporation could be financially successful by also being socially responsible, setting a precedent for corporate sustainability. She put a lot of efforts by the company into green energy. Pepsi was one of the leaders back then. So these were the three leaders, contemporary leaders. There are healthcare leaders amongst them as well, but I thought I show contemporary leadership to start with other industries to give you a glimpse of this, and maybe at some of the next talks we can talk about healthcare more. So conclusion here, this is my last two slides. Charismatic leaders possess a powerful ability to inspire and mobilize people, no question. It can lead to incredible innovation and positive change. It relies on the, but it relies on the leader's personality and carries the risk of abuse and stagnation if the focus becomes self-serving. And I gave you some examples in history where that happened. Understanding the types of charisma is crucial for analyzing the effectiveness and ethics of leadership across various styles. So I think charisma is important to understand, to differentiate it from more modern contemporary styles of leadership. And last but not least, the legacy of powerful leadership. You will see a lot of different definitions today what powerful leadership is. A lot of different terminologies. Most of the books still have the word transformation in there. But it came out of transformational leadership, most of them. And transformational leadership leaves behind more than just successful balance, a successful balance sheet, if you're talking financial terms. It inspires teams, so people feel valued, challenged, and they're committed to your cause. If you can't commit people to your cause, then you will fail. It creates sustainable organizations of people, countries, populations. And these organizations will build on strong values and adjustment. And it creates positive societal influence. Contributions that extend far beyond organizational walls. And we talked not about organizations in this presentation. We talked about far beyond organizational walls, what leadership can do. And it is the foundation of many other new leadership styles. Well, thank you for the presentation that I could give to you today. And I hope it inspires you a little bit. I hope you reflect a little bit about it. And I'm open for questions.
Thanks so much, Dr. Thaler. This was excellent. Questions for Dr. Thaler?
I have one if there's.
Yes, please.
Please. Monopolize, but you mentioned the 53,000 plus books that have leadership in their title. My question would be is, can you really teach leadership? Or is it a natural, it's a naturally born thing that people are born with? Or can you really teach leadership? Because I suspect most of these books are trying to tell you how to be a good leader.
So today's understanding of leadership is, if you look into research, that it's not genetic. You can, it's not inborn, it's not genetic, it's not inherited. Yes, that's why so many books are written about it. No, you can teach leadership. It's not genetic. No. Each of us, regardless of our origin, regardless where we were raised, we can all be great leaders. Yeah, we just need the playbook.
Other questions or comments from Zoom or in person for Dr. Thaler?
Philippi.
I just have one comment. For me, the best book that I've read on leadership was actually Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography, which is a very long, personal, detailed account, not only of what he accomplished, mostly it was about his emotional life and his deep inner life. And it's just a long read, but it's excellent.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I recommend two others, and you had the names on the slides here. One is JFK. There's a great documentary out there about JFK, talking about all this, what I presented today. And the other one is Martin Luther King. There are many, many biographies, but one in particular. Yeah. Yes, please.
So I noticed that all of your examples of transformative leaders were female, and all of your examples of charismatic leaders were male. What do you make of that?
That's a great notification. So in history, there were not many powerful female leaders, right? So if you look back 15 years, 20 years in corporate leadership in the country here, we had about 2% of female CEOs. Now we have about 25% to 30%, 20%. So it has risen. And I really didn't do it as purposefully to bring up contemporary female leaders here, but I'm impressed by these three leaders, yeah. But there are a lot of contemporary male leaders, and I promise you, at my next presentation, I will bring up also. I will create more. I will create more inclusion here. But I just gave you the leaders, the contemporary leaders that impressed me. There are a lot of other leaders that impressed me over time, but those three in particular. And one of them, I attended a speech. I got to know her in person. In history, there weren't any female leaders.
That's an excellent question. To clarify, Satya, the CEO of Microsoft, is a male. And then the other two, Jacinta and Nui, are women leaders who are charismatic. If I may, a question, I'm going to go back to charisma or character over charisma. And I think what led me to rethink this was Adam Grant. One of the, and this is an excellent talk, Dr. Thaler, and I appreciate you helping us out here. The tenets here is the ability to connect with people and serving the needs, which goes to empathy. And I think charismatic leaders may lack that, where narcissism is the definition of that, excessive self-love. And I think that's, if the three examples you brought, Satya, Jacinta Ardern, and Nui, who were interviewed by Adam Grant, all three of them emphasized the concept of empathy. Satya had a special need kid who really, and his upbringing in India really reformed how he thinked about leadership. And likewise with Jacinta Ardern, with Ardern, her journey as well, and what happened in New Zealand as well. So I think those are important concepts. I appreciate you bringing them up. I don't know what your thoughts about that.
Yeah. I really wanted to bring this out in this slide about the contemporary leaders. There's difference between compassion and empathy. Compassion is to connect, but don't provide a solution for the patient or your staff that is in a certain amount of crisis. Empathy does. So it's very different. Yeah, that's why transformational leaders are empathetic leaders, and you see compassion in charismatic leadership or in other leadership styles. But transformational leader creates empathy, which really nurtures your follower or your staff, because it gives them a solution, and it will make them better or get them out of the crisis.
Dr. Thaler, this is wonderful and inspiration and powerful as well. I thank you on behalf of the Department of Surgery.